The galaxy had never seen such a gathering before. On the shining world of Orion Prime, a planet covered with crystalline towers and silver-blue seas, the Interstellar Peace Summit was about to begin. Delegates from more than 50 species had arrived, each bringing their best ships, their most skilled diplomats, and their highest hopes. Among them was the Lumerian Star Kingdom, one of the oldest and most advanced civilizations known. Their presence drew attention from all corners of the galaxy, not only because of their influence but also because their young heir, Princess Elira, would appear in public for the first time. For the Lumerians, whose rulers were rarely seen beyond their glowing palaces, this was more than politics. It was history. From Earth, the humans sent only a modest delegation. Humanity was still young in the eyes of the stars, still learning to walk among empires that had sailed the void for millennia. But humans carried with them a reputation for courage, stubbornness, and unpredictable resolve. Among the guards who accompanied the human ambassador was Commander Nathan Hale, a man not remarkable in appearance, yet steady in presence. Nathan had been chosen not for his rank, but for his instincts. He had served in many conflicts on the outer colonies where quick judgment meant survival. Now standing in polished armor beneath the crystalline domes of Orion Prime, he felt out of place. Compared to the radiant uniforms of alien guards and the flowing robes of diplomats, he was plain. A soldier from a young world still finding its voice. The summit began with music, Lumerian voices that rang like chimes through the vast hall. Thousands of beings listened as the representatives of peace took their places. At the center, Princess Elira stepped forward. Her figure was tall and slender, wrapped in robes that shimmered like liquid starlight. Her hair fell like silver water and her eyes shone with the pale glow of her people. Yet what struck Nathan most was not her beauty but the quiet strength in her expression. She looked as if she carried the weight of her entire kingdom on her shoulders. For a moment the hall was silent. Then, with a voice calm yet firm, Elira began her speech. Today we gather not as conquerors, not as rivals, but as children of the stars. Let us choose a path where fear does not guide us, but hope does. Applause rose, echoing through the chamber. Nathan stood at attention, watching carefully. He had been briefed. Protect the ambassador, observe the summit, avoid trouble. But his eyes never left the princess. He could not explain why. Perhaps it was instinct, perhaps something else. Then it happened. A flicker of movement near the upper balconies. Nathan's soldier's eyes caught it before anyone else. A hand raised, a glimmer of light, and then the sharp glow of an energy weapon charging. The shot burst through the air like a line of fire. The crowd gasped, shouts of alarm rising all around. The beam was aimed straight at the princess. Nathan did not think. There was no time to think. His body moved before his mind did. He leapt from his place near the human delegation, pushing through startled guards. In a single instant, he threw himself between the princess and the beam. The energy blast struck his chest with a blinding flash. Pain tore through him like molten metal, and the force sent him crashing to the floor. The hall erupted in chaos. Guards rushed forward, weapons drawn. Delegates screamed. The princess stumbled back, shock frozen on her face. But Nathan, still alive though seared with pain, lifted his head. His vision blurred, yet he saw that Elira was unharmed. That was enough. Darkness closed around him. When Nathan opened his eyes again, he was no longer in the summit hall. He lay in a chamber filled with soft light, strange symbols glowing on the walls. A cool mist drifted over his skin, easing the pain in his chest. Machines hummed quietly, their design far beyond human understanding. He tried to rise, but his body resisted. A voice spoke gently beside him. "Do not move. Your wounds are still healing." Turning his head, Nathan saw her, the princess. She was seated near his bed, her silver hair spilling over her shoulders, her expression a mix of relief and guilt. "You saved me," she whispered, her voice unsteady. "Why, you are not of my people. You owed me nothing." Nathan coughed, forcing a weak smile. Didn't have time to think about it. Someone had to move. Her eyes softened, though sadness remained. "You nearly gave your life for mine. Such an act cannot be forgotten." Before Nathan could reply, another figure entered. Tall, regal, and commanding, she seemed to draw the very light toward her. This was Queen Seraphina, ruler of the Lumerian Star Kingdom and mother to Elira. Her gaze fixed on Nathan, sharp and unyielding. Yet there was something else in her eyes, too. Something like wonder. You are human, the queen said slowly, a species barely a century among the stars. And yet you stood where even seasoned warriors faltered. Tell me, Commander Hale, what drives such madness? Or is it courage? Nathan struggled to sit straighter, wincing at the pain. Does it matter? She's alive. That's all. The queen's lips curved, though not quite into a smile. Perhaps it matters more than you know. For in our law, one who saves the life of a royal becomes bound to the crown. Until I release you, human, you belong to the House of Lumeria. Nathan stared at her, stunned. Belong? With respect, Your Majesty, I belong to no one. Then you will learn, the queen replied, her voice firm as steel. For no act of such sacrifice can be without consequence. The princess shifted uneasily. Mother, but the queen raised her hand, silencing her. She stepped closer, her presence overwhelming. You have changed the course of this summit, Commander. Perhaps even the course of history. You will remain here until I decide your fate. Nathan's heart pounded. He had come to Orion Prime as a guard, a nameless soldier from Earth. Now he was a prisoner, or perhaps something more, in the most powerful kingdom of the stars. He closed his eyes, the weight of his choice pressing down on him. He had saved the princess with his own body, but in doing so he had stepped into a web of laws, power, and destinies far beyond his reach, and the queen would not let him go. Nathan awoke to the faint sound of chimes. The air in the chamber was cool, carrying a sweet scent that reminded him of fresh rain. His chest still ached from the wound, though the strange Lumerian machines had closed it with glowing seals. He sat up slowly, taking in his surroundings. The room was unlike anything he had ever seen. Walls curved upward like glass, shining faintly with shifting colors. Light floated through the air as though it were alive. He felt as if he had stepped into a dream, but he quickly remembered this was no dream. The queen had spoken to him. She had declared him bound by Lumerian law. Bound to the crown, bound to her will. The door opened and a guard entered. The guard's armor was bright silver, his face hidden behind a mask that glowed faintly at the edges. He carried no visible weapon, yet Nathan sensed he was dangerous. You are awake, the guard said in a calm voice. The queen requests your presence, Nathan frowned. Requests or orders? The guard tilted his head slightly. For the queen there is no difference. Nathan swung his legs from the bed and stood. His strength had mostly returned, though his body still felt heavy. He followed the guard through winding corridors that seemed to shimmer with light from within. Everywhere he looked, there were carvings of stars, suns, and ancient battles. The Lumerians had walked the galaxy long before humanity had left its homeworld. At last, they entered a great hall. Crystal pillars rose high into the air, and between them hung banners of silver cloth that shimmered like moonlight. At the far end sat Queen Seraphina, her presence commanding and still. Princess Elira stood at her side, her expression unreadable. Nathan stopped before them, standing tall despite the weight pressing down on him. The queen's gaze was sharp. Commander Nathan Hale, do you understand where you stand? Nathan's voice was steady. In your palace, Your Majesty. By your command. A faint smile touched her lips. You learn quickly. Yes, by my command. You saved the life of my daughter. By our oldest law, that binds you to my house. Until I release you, you belong here. Nathan clenched his fists. With respect, Your Majesty, I am not your subject. I serve my people. My ambassador will demand my return. Your ambassador, the queen said, her tone cool, has already demanded it. I refused. Do you know why? Nathan stayed silent. The queen rose from her throne. She was tall, her robes trailing like rivers of starlight. As she stepped closer, the guards lowered their heads in respect. Her eyes never left Nathan. Because no one has ever done what you did, she said. In our history, even seasoned warriors think first of themselves. You thought of my daughter. You threw away your life as though it meant nothing. Such an act cannot be ignored. To release you now would be to dishonor the sacrifice you made. Nathan's jaw tightened. I didn't do it for honor. I did it because it was right. The queen studied him, her expression unreadable. Then she turned to her daughter. And what do you say, Elira? The princess hesitated. Her hands were folded before her, her eyes lowered. At last she spoke softly. He saved me. Without him I would be gone. But I do not wish for him to be a prisoner. The queen lifted her chin. He is not a prisoner. He is bound. There is a difference. Nathan almost laughed, though there was no humor in it. Bound, prisoner, captive, it feels the same to me. The queen's eyes flashed, but before she could answer, a servant hurried into the hall. He bowed low. Your Majesty, there is unrest among the delegates. The human ambassador has demanded to see Commander Hale immediately. They fear for his safety. The queen's voice grew colder. Tell the ambassador he is safe, and he will remain under my protection. No more will be said. The servant bowed again and left. Nathan felt heat rising in his chest. You're starting a fire. Earth won't stay silent. You're making me a chain between our worlds. The queen turned back to him, her expression calm but firm. Perhaps. But perhaps you are also a bridge. That evening, Nathan was given chambers of his own. They were beautiful, filled with flowing curtains and soft light, but he felt no comfort. The walls, though bright, pressed on him like iron. As he sat by the window looking out at the endless towers of the city, the door opened quietly. Princess Elira entered, her steps soft against the floor. You should not be here alone, she said. My mother does not see how much this troubles you. Nathan looked at her. She sees. She just doesn't care. Elira shook her head. You do not understand her. She rules by law. The law says you belong to us now. To her, releasing you would mean disrespecting our ancestors, Nathan sighed. And what about me? I'm not one of your people. Your laws shouldn't bind me. The princess's eyes softened. I know, that is why I came. I wanted to say, I am sorry. You saved me, and now you suffer because of it. Nathan studied her carefully. She was young, yet her voice carried weight. He could see the conflict in her. Guilt and gratitude tangled together. It's not your fault, Nathan said quietly. I made the choice. I'd make it again. Her eyes widened slightly at his words. For a moment, silence hung between them, filled only by the hum of the city outside. Then she spoke again. You are different from the others I have known. Most think only of power or gain. But you. She paused, searching for the right words. You act from the heart. That is why my mother watches you so closely. She does not trust what she cannot predict. Nathan leaned back in his chair. Then I'm in more danger than I thought. Elira almost smiled. Perhaps, but you are not alone. With that, she slipped away, leaving him with her words. Days passed. Nathan remained within the palace walls. He was given freedom to walk its gardens, to study its vast halls of crystal, but never to leave. Guards watched him wherever he went. Some looked at him with curiosity, others with suspicion. Rumors spread quickly among the courtiers. Some whispered he was a hero. Others claimed he had staged the attack to gain favor with the queen. A few even suggested that humanity planned this from the start, to place one of their own inside the Lumerian court. Nathan ignored the whispers, but he could not ignore the stares. He felt like a pawn on a board far larger than he understood. At night, he often thought of Earth, of home. Would his people fight for him? Or would they decide one soldier was not worth a war? One evening, as he walked in the gardens of glowing flowers, the queen herself appeared beside him. She moved with quiet grace, her gaze fixed on the stars above. Do you hate me, Commander? She asked suddenly. Nathan blinked. You keep me here against my will. You've tied me with laws that aren't mine. What do you think? She turned her head slightly, her silver eyes studying him. I think you are angry. But anger is not the same as hate. Hate blinds. Anger can be shaped. Nathan folded his arms. Shaped into what? The queen looked back at the stars. Into something greater than either of us can yet see. He frowned. And what if I refuse to be shaped? Her lips curved faintly. Then you will break. And still you will remain mine until I release you. Nathan's heart pounded, though he kept his face calm. He realized now the truth. The queen was not only grateful, she was testing him, measuring him. To her, he was not just a man. He was a symbol she would not release. Nathan had been in the palace for many days now, long enough to learn its rhythms. At dawn, bells rang from the highest spires. At midday, servants carried scrolls of law and tribute to the queen's chamber. And each evening the halls filled with light as though the very walls drank the stars. But beneath the beauty, Nathan sensed tension. It was not spoken aloud, yet he felt it in the glances of the guards, in the hurried steps of advisors, and in the way some corridors grew strangely silent when he passed. He was not only a guest, he was also a problem. One night, while walking through the gardens of crystal flowers, Nathan noticed two guards speaking in hushed voices near a fountain. Their words were faint, carried away by the wind, but he caught enough to understand. Another message. From the hidden ones. The Queen does not know. The two guards stiffened when they saw him, their voices cutting off. One gave him a sharp look, then bowed stiffly and left with his companion. Nathan frowned. His instincts, sharpened through years of service, told him this was not harmless talk. Something moved in the palace shadows. Something dangerous. The next day, Nathan was summoned to the Queen's council chamber. The hall was filled with Lemurian nobles, their robes flowing like rivers of light. At the center sat Queen Seraphina, her presence commanding as always. Princess Elira stood beside her, her gaze meeting Nathan's briefly before lowering again. "Commander Hale," the Queen said, her voice echoing through the chamber. "You will sit among us today. I wish to test your judgment." Nathan hesitated. "I'm no counselor, Your Majesty." "I'm a soldier." "Exactly," the Queen replied. "A soldier sees what diplomats ignore. That is what I require." The council began. Advisors spoke of border disputes, trade agreements, and the summit's fragile peace. Nathan listened carefully. Yet what struck him most was not the words spoken but the undercurrents, the looks exchanged between nobles, the faint notes of unease in their voices. One noble, Lord Calrix, argued for reducing the Queen's guard. The attack on the princess was the act of outsiders. "We need not live in fear. Too much security weakens trust." Nathan's instincts flared. Too much security weakens trust? That sounded less like wisdom and more like a setup. He kept silent, but his eyes stayed fixed on Calrix. At last, the Queen turned to Nathan. "You have listened. Now tell me, what do you see?" All eyes turned toward him. Nathan stood, his hands resting on the table. "I see words meant to hide fear. Someone inside this palace helped the assassins, maybe not with weapons, but with silence. And I see that pulling back guards would not build trust, it would open the door for another attack." The hall grew tense. Lord Calrix's eyes narrowed. "How dare a human accuse us of—" But the Queen raised her hand. Silence. She studied Nathan, her expression unreadable. Then she nodded slowly. "You speak with the sharpness of one who has seen betrayal before." "Perhaps you are right." Whispers filled the chamber. Some nobles looked uneasy. Others glared at Nathan. He had spoken boldly, and now he had drawn attention he did not want. Later that evening, Elira visited him in his chamber. She carried no guards, only a small lantern that glowed softly in her hands. "You should be careful," she said quietly. "Many will not forgive what you said today." Nathan looked at her, his voice calm. "I only spoke the truth." "I know," Elira whispered. "But truth can be sharper than a blade. And blades cut both ways." She set the lantern on the table and sat across from him. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then she leaned closer, lowering her voice. "I must tell you something. The attack at the summit, it was not the first attempt on my life. There were others. Hidden, disguised as accidents. My mother never speaks of them, but I have seen the patterns." Nathan felt his pulse quicken. "Then it's someone close." "Someone inside the palace," Elira nodded. "Yes, and I fear my mother already knows. But she does not speak of it for reasons I cannot understand." Nathan thought carefully. "Maybe she's waiting, watching. Or maybe she wants to see who will reveal themselves." The princess's eyes glimmered in the lantern light. "And you? Will you help me find the truth?" Nathan leaned back, his jaw set. He had not asked for this role, but he could not ignore it either. "If someone's trying to kill you, then I won't stand aside. We'll find them. Together." For the first time since he had met her, Elira smiled faintly. "Then I am not alone." In the days that followed, Nathan began to observe more carefully. He walked the halls, watching who came and went. He listened to whispers that others dismissed. He noticed strange signals, guards tapping their armor in patterns, servants leaving folded papers in hidden corners. He could not read the symbols, but he knew what they meant. A network of communication that the Queen herself might not control. One night, while exploring a quiet corridor, Nathan discovered a sealed chamber door slightly ajar. Inside, he found crates marked not with the royal seal, but with an unfamiliar crest, a black star crossed with silver lines. He reached out, brushing the mark with his fingers. It was not Lumerian. It was foreign. Contraband, perhaps. Or weapons. Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind him. Nathan turned sharply. his hand instinctively reaching for a weapon he no longer carried. It was Elira. Her face was pale. "You should not be here," she whispered. "If they catch you, then we'll both be in trouble," Nathan said. He pointed to the crates. "Do you know what this is?" Elira shook her head. "No. But I've seen that mark before, on the robes of an envoy from the Outer Alliance. My mother warned me never to trust them." Nathan's eyes narrowed. "Then it's not just palace intrigue. This is bigger. Someone's planning to overthrow your mother, and they're not working alone." Before they could speak further, voices approached. Nathan and Elira slipped out the other door, hearts racing. That night, Nathan lay awake, staring at the ceiling of his chamber. He realized now why the Queen had refused to release him. She knew. She had seen what he was beginning to uncover, and she wanted him here not just as a savior, not just as a symbol, but as a tool. Still, Nathan made his choice. He would not sit idle. The princess's life was in danger. The Queen's throne was in danger. And though he was only one man, one human among giants, he would act, because that was what humans did. They faced the storm, even when the storm was far greater than themselves. Nathan closed his eyes, determination burning inside him. The web of intrigue was tightening around the palace, but he would not let it close without a fight. The palace had never seemed more alive or more dangerous. Nathan moved through the halls with careful steps, his senses alert to every shadow, every whisper, every faint click of distant armor. The web of intrigue he had begun to uncover was growing. Signals of betrayal and secret messages threaded through the palace like unseen wires. Princess Elira walked beside him as they navigated the quiet corridors. Her presence was comforting, but it reminded Nathan of the stakes. Every glance she cast, every word she spoke was a reminder of why he had risked everything in the first place. "Do you think my mother suspects the full plot?" Elira asked, her voice low. Nathan shook his head. "I think she knows more than she lets on, but she's playing her own game. She's testing you, and me." Elira's brow furrowed. "Testing us? Or testing you?" "Both," Nathan replied. "In the end, it doesn't matter. If someone wants to kill you, testing won't save you. Action will." Elira swallowed hard. "And what action do you suggest?" Nathan looked ahead, the light from the crystal pillars casting long shadows. "We gather proof. Identify the traitors. Stop them before they strike again." Days passed as Nathan and Elira worked in secrecy. They observed the palace, noting patterns of movement among the guards and servants. They discovered coded notes hidden in the library, messages that hinted at alliances beyond Lumeria, alien factions willing to overthrow the Queen for power. Nathan realized that the attack at the summit was only the beginning. Whoever had tried to assassinate the princess was now planning something larger, an invasion within the walls, a silent coup that could topple the entire kingdom. One evening, while Nathan inspected the lower halls near the armory, he overheard two conspirators speaking. "Tonight, the Queen will be vulnerable. The weapon is ready. We move at midnight." Nathan's heart raced. He immediately sought Elira. They quickly devised a plan. If they acted carefully, they could prevent the attack without alerting the conspirators. At midnight, the palace slept under a pale blue moon. Nathan and Elira moved like shadows, avoiding guards loyal only to the Queen. They reached the hidden chamber he had discovered days earlier. Inside were crates of strange devices, small, deadly, and alien in design. "This is it," Nathan whispered. "If these are used against the Queen, she won't survive." Elira nodded. "Then we stop them here, together." Nathan carefully examined the devices. His training told him that many were unstable. One wrong move and the palace itself could become a trap. He carefully disarmed several while Elira kept watch at the doorway, her hands steady despite the fear in her eyes. Suddenly, a shadow fell across the doorway. Nathan's heart jumped. Two conspirators had arrived earlier than expected. Their eyes widened at the sight of him. "You!" one of them shouted. "A human here?" Nathan lunged forward instinctively. He moved with a combination of training, speed, and human unpredictability. The first conspirator fell back, stunned by Nathan's attack. Elira, despite her youth, drew a small energy blade hidden in her robes. She moved beside Nathan, her expression fierce. The two of them fought as a team. Nathan's movements were precise, using his experience in combat. while Illyra anticipated the enemy's moves, her reflexes quick and sharp. Together they were unstoppable, a human and a princess defending the palace from treachery. Despite the chaos, Nathan's mind stayed clear. He noted the positions of the enemies, the layout of the chamber, and the potential hazards of the alien devices. Every step was measured, every strike purposeful. At last the conspirators were subdued. Nathan tied them securely while Illyra secured the devices. The immediate threat was over, but Nathan knew this was only the beginning. As they caught their breath, Nathan looked around the chamber. "This is bigger than we imagined. Someone higher up must be directing them." Illyra nodded. "And yet my mother refuses to act openly. She wants to see the full picture before moving." Nathan shook his head. "It's a dangerous game. Every moment we wait, the threat grows." Illyra's eyes softened. "And yet you risked everything for me once. You would do it again." Nathan's gaze met hers. "Of course. That's what humans do. We fight for what's right even when it costs us everything." Illyra smiled faintly. "Then perhaps your presence here is a blessing. Not just to me, but to all of Lumeria." Nathan felt a weight in his chest. He had come to this palace as a stranger, a soldier from a distant world. Now he realized he had become more than a protector. He had become a symbol of courage and hope. The next day, the Queen summoned Nathan and Illyra. The council hall, usually filled with nobles, was empty. Only the Queen and a few trusted advisors were present. "You have acted bravely," the Queen said, her eyes studying Nathan. "And yet bravery alone does not ensure survival. Tell me, how do you propose we prevent future attacks?" Nathan spoke clearly, outlining what he had learned about the conspirators, the hidden devices, and the potential threat to the Queen's life. He suggested increased security, careful observation, and a network of loyal guards who could respond quickly to any threat. The Queen listened silently, her hands folded. When he finished, she nodded slowly. "You have proven yourself not just brave but wise," she said. "Perhaps more so than some of my own advisors." Nathan bowed. "I do what I can, Your Majesty." "For your daughter." "And for Lumeria." Illyra stepped forward. "My mother refuses to release him," she said softly. "But I believe he should have the choice, not only to stay but to leave if he wishes." The Queen's gaze flicked between them. "You are both correct and naive. This palace holds secrets that humans cannot yet understand. Commander, your presence is necessary whether you like it or not." Nathan clenched his fist but said nothing. He knew arguing would achieve nothing. Instead, he focused on the task at hand, protecting the princess, defending the palace, and uncovering the full web of conspiracy. In the days that followed, Nathan trained with the palace guards. They were skilled, but he noticed one difference. Humans fought with unpredictability, creativity, and sheer determination. He demonstrated tactics and strategies that even seasoned Lumerians had never considered. Illyra watched closely, absorbing everything. She was learning from him, and he from her. Together they formed a bond built on trust and respect. They were more than a protector and a princess. They were allies in a battle that had only just begun. One night, while standing on the balcony overlooking the city, Nathan spoke softly. "Tomorrow they may strike again," he said, "and the day after. The threat never ends, but we can face it." Illyra nodded, her eyes reflecting the stars. "We will, together." Nathan looked at her, feeling a rare warmth in his chest. He had faced danger countless times in his life, but this was different. This was personal, and yet it was also more than personal. He had become part of something larger than himself, part of a world he had never imagined, yet one he could not leave behind. The Queen, watching silently from the shadows, realized that Nathan's courage and humanity had changed more than just the palace's immediate threat. He had changed her perspective, showing her that even the smallest species could hold the greatest strength, strength born not of power, but of heart. As midnight approached, a new tension settled over the palace. Nathan and Illyra prepared for the possibility of another attack, yet they felt stronger than before. They had faced danger, survived, and uncovered part of the conspiracy. Each step brought them closer to the truth and closer to understanding the depth of the threat facing Lumeria. Nathan's resolve hardened. He had come as a soldier, a stranger, a human from a distant world. Now he was a guardian, a strategist, and a symbol, and no matter what lay ahead, he would face it with the same courage that had saved the princess in the first place. for in a galaxy filled with countless species, only one trait could truly change the course of history: humanity's unyielding courage even in the face of impossible odds. The palace was unusually quiet. Even the crystal towers seemed to hold their breath. Nathan moved through the corridors with deliberate steps, his senses alert. The conspirators they had captured were under heavy guard, but he knew that danger could still strike at any moment. Princess Elira walked beside him, her hand brushing his lightly as they passed. They had become a team over the past days, two allies in a palace filled with hidden enemies and silent threats. Each of them had changed. The princess had learned courage beyond her years, and Nathan had discovered a strength that went beyond training and skill. Their steps led them to the throne room. The queen awaited them, seated with her regal posture, her eyes focused yet thoughtful. Nathan felt a tension in the air as though the very walls were weighing upon them. "You have done well," the queen began, her voice calm yet commanding. "The conspirators have been neutralized and the palace is secure for now." Nathan nodded. "They were clever, but we stopped them before they could strike again. Your daughter is safe." The queen's eyes shifted to Elira. "And yet Commander Hale remains here. Why should he be free to leave when he has already bound himself to Lumeria by his actions?" Nathan's jaw tightened. "With respect, Your Majesty, I acted to save the princess. I never asked for reward. I never asked for chains. What I did because it was right." The queen studied him silently, her expression unreadable. Nathan felt the weight of her gaze pressing down upon him. It was a gaze that could see through walls, through machines, through even the bravest of men. "You are human," she said finally, "a species still new among the stars. And yet in your courage I see something more, something my people sometimes forget." Nathan remained silent, unsure where her words would lead. "Tell me," the queen continued, "if you were free to leave, would you? Would you return to your world, to your people, or would you stay here in Lumeria?" Nathan's mind raced. He had dreamed of returning to Earth, of the familiar skies and the people he had left behind. But after all he had seen, all he had done, he knew that leaving would feel incomplete. "I would stay," he said finally, "not out of duty, not because of law, but because I choose to. Because this place, this people, and the princess, they have become part of what I fight for." The queen leaned back slightly, considering him. "Interesting," she murmured. "You have faced death to save my daughter. You have uncovered plots that even my advisors could not perceive. You have acted with honor, intelligence, and courage." Nathan looked down, feeling the weight of her words. Praise from the queen was rare. Acknowledgement of his actions was heavier than any chain she could place upon him. Elira stepped forward, her eyes shining with a mixture of hope and determination. "Mother, he is not a prisoner. He is our ally. He should have the choice to stay or go. He has earned that right." The queen's gaze softened slightly, but her voice remained firm. "Choices is not always simple. Laws are laws. They protect, they guide, and they ensure order. If I release him entirely, what precedent does that set?" Nathan spoke before he could stop himself. "Sometimes laws must bend to what is right. Sometimes the heart sees what the law cannot. I acted because it was right. Not for law, not for reward." A moment of silence followed. The queen's expression shifted subtly from firmness to thoughtfulness. She rose from her throne, moving closer to Nathan, her presence commanding yet reflective. "You speak with courage," she said, "and yet you also speak with humility. Rare qualities among humans and rare among any species I have known. Perhaps humanity has a place here beyond what I imagined." Nathan felt a warmth in his chest. For the first time, he sensed that the queen's decision might favor not only honor but understanding. "Commander," she continued, "by law, you are still bound to the crown. But I see now that binding is not needed. Your actions have proven your loyalty, your courage, and your honor. You are free to leave if you wish, or you may stay, not by law but by choice." Nathan exhaled, a mixture of relief and disbelief washing over him. Freedom at last, but also a choice that carried weight. He looked at the princess, whose eyes reflected both joy and quiet anticipation. "I choose to stay," he said finally. "Not because I must, but because I want to. I will protect this kingdom, your daughter, and your people. Not because I am bound, but because it is right." The queen studied him for a long moment. Then slowly she nodded. "So be it. You are a knight of Lumeria, free to act in its defense, yet bound by honor to its protection." Nathan's shoulders relaxed, though the responsibility remained. Being a knight of Lumeria was not a mere title. It was a vow to stand against threats, to protect, and to act when others could not. Elira stepped forward, placing a hand on Nathan's arm. "I am glad you stayed," she said softly. "I am glad you are here." Nathan looked at her, a faint smile on his lips. "Then we continue together," he said, "for as long as the galaxy allows." The following days brought a new rhythm to the palace. Nathan trained alongside the Lumerian guards, teaching them strategies that combined human unpredictability with Lumerian precision. He patrolled the palace, observing, learning, and ensuring that no threat could go unnoticed. Elira, now more confident, trained beside him. She learned not only combat but observation, quick thinking, and the courage to act even when fear pressed in. Together they were a team, human and Lumerian, facing dangers that had once seemed impossible. Even the queen from her throne observed Nathan with a new respect. She no longer saw him as merely a bound protector. He had become a symbol, proof that even humans, small and young among the stars, could possess courage, wisdom, and heart beyond measure. One evening, Nathan stood on the highest balcony, looking out at the city beneath the crystal sky. The towers gleamed like silver rivers, and the stars above reflected the countless worlds beyond. He realized how much had changed since the summit, since the moment he had thrown himself in front of an energy blast to save a princess he barely knew. He had been bound by law, tested by intrigue, and challenged by danger. Yet through it all he had found a place, not just in Lumeria but in its people's hearts and in a story that would be told for generations. Elira joined him silently. Together they watched the city, the palace, and the stars beyond. "You have changed everything," she said softly. Nathan turned to her. "No," he replied. "We changed it together. You showed courage and I showed what humans can do," Elira smiled. "Then perhaps we are not so different after all." Nathan laughed quietly. "Perhaps not." The queen, watching from the distance, knew that this human had done more than save her daughter. He had reminded her, and all of Lumeria, that courage and honor are not measured by strength or species, but by the heart. In a galaxy filled with countless civilizations, one small human had proven that even the youngest among stars could shine brightest when faced with darkness. Nathan had saved the princess with his own body, and in doing so, he had saved more than just a life. He had earned a place in a kingdom, a bond with its people, and the respect of a queen who had learned that strength comes in many forms. And though the queen had the power to hold him forever, she chose not to. She saw that true loyalty cannot be forced. It is given freely by those whose hearts are unshakable. Nathan Hale, human, soldier, and now Knight of Lumeria, stood tall beneath the stars. His choice had made him free, yet bound to the ideals he had always lived by. He had faced impossible odds, uncovered conspiracies, and survived battles that would have claimed the strongest of warriors. And through it all, he had shown the galaxy what humanity truly meant. As the stars shone above, Nathan knew one truth: courage, honor, and the heart of a human could change worlds. One choice, one action, one life at a time.